Ahoy hoy fellow bookworms, my name is Caroline and I like to read books, so let's talk about them. Today's video is going to be a bit of a late November wrap up. I read like 7 books in November and I mostly enjoyed what I read, so let's just get into this. The first book I read was a book of poetry and it was The Chaos of Longing by K.Y. Robinson. I had heard quite good things about this and I've got to say that it was actually quite good. One thing I really liked about this was actually how short it was. I found with other poetry books that they end up being just too long, and that means that a lot of the poems end up being repetitive. You know, they say the same thing just with different words, and I find that really frustrating, whereas with this, it was short, so every poem that was in there was a good poem, or at least none of them said the same thing. They were all very unique and interesting, and I really enjoyed that. I ended up giving this a 3.5 out of 5 stars because even though I really enjoyed the reading experience and I thought that all the poems flowed really well and they were beautifully written and all that kind of stuff, none of them were particularly remarkable and none of them stood out to me, and now like a month after reading it, I just don't think any of them grabbed me or were particularly like great. Like they were good, but just none of them, like I don't remember them, and that's kind of disappointing. So it was good, but just not like outstanding. The next book I read is One Day We'll All Be Dead and None of This Will Matter by Sachi Cool. I went into this thinking I was really going to love it, and I've got to say that I was a little disappointed. I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars, but that's mainly because there was one essay in here that I absolutely adored, but I found the rest of them to be kind of average. The author of this book works at BuzzFeed, and that style of humor really comes through in her anecdotes, and I really enjoyed the anecdotes that she shared, but I think they were shared just a little bit too frequently because a lot of the time they would kind of take away from the point that she was making in her essay and make it a little bit too jokey for my liking. I will say though that there was one essay in this book, I think it's the 3rd essay in the book, it's called Fair and Lovely, and I just think it was incredible. Basically it's about the author and the different generations in her family and their different experiences of racism based on the colour of their skin, because there's her father who is quite a dark-skinned Indian, then there's the author who is slightly fairer, and then there's their niece, or her niece, who is quite fair-skinned because her mother is white, and basically they go on this family trip to India. And the 3 generations all experience different treatment based on the colour of their skin. She made all these observations about how her niece will have different experiences back in Canada when she goes to school and stuff, because it made so many good points that I had never considered, and it was so insightful and a wonderful essay. Third book that I read is easily one of my favourites for the year, and it's My Brother's Husband Volume 1 by Gengoro Tagami, and this was just amazing. I bought this and read it on the same day and I cried, and it was just phenomenal, so I recommend this to everybody. In this story we follow Yachi, who is a Japanese man and the single father to a daughter named Kana, and basically he has a brother who he had lost contact with because that brother moved to Canada and married a man named Mike, and basically this brother has passed away suddenly, and so Mike is coming to Japan. Suddenly Yachi has to face all his prejudices about a gay man and the fact that his brother was a gay man, and it's just this story about like family and love and grief and sexuality and all this stuff. You know, Yachi has to teach his daughter about the fact that not everyone is straight, and you learn a lot about contemporary Japan and a lot of the prejudices that are still present in their society, and it's really interesting but so beautifully written and just so incredible. I love the characters and the way that they develop. I love Mike and I love Yachi and I love Kana, and it was just so incredible. 5 out of 5 stars to this. It was just great. Next up I read Tower of Dawn by Sarah J Maas, which is book 6 in the Throne of Glass series, and I was actually kind of surprised by how much I ended up enjoying this book, considering I went into it with reasonably low expectations. For me, the best thing about this book was Kale's characterization. I think he is a flawed character, but he's an interesting character. He's well balanced, and I just think he was really well written in this book, and I really enjoyed that he was just like back to his best. He's back to being my baby. He's my favorite character in this series, so that was really exciting. I also liked some of the new characters that we got to see in this. I found them really rich and well developed and interesting, so that was great as well. But I kind of found secondary plots in this to be less interesting. We have the story with Kale, and then we have another story that kind of starts happening, and I enjoyed what was happening with Kale, but I found the other story to be way less interesting. I'm also super intrigued by the information we got that's going to be really important in the final Throne of Glass book, so I'm interested to see how all of that gets wrapped up. Also, I was quite surprised that it seemed like the disability representation was kind of well done for the most part, but I'm not the right person to comment on that, so I'm gonna have to hunt down some reviews, but overall would give this book about a 4 out of 5 stars. Next up, I read volume 1 of Goodnight Pun Pun by Inio Asano, which is kind of this slice of life manga about Pun Pun, who is this little bird child thing, and it's about his experiences growing up. He's just this average kid in an average town, and this first volume he is quite young, and so it's all about his like first crush and how he feels about his parents' divorce and stuff like that. And I really enjoyed this. I really liked the creative choice of drawing Pun Pun as this little bird because it shows how isolated he feels around like other people and how anxious he is and stuff like that. And I really liked the story about like this crippling feeling of like being alone and stuff like that, and it was just so beautifully done. And the art style, it's quite simple, but then there's these beautiful moments like this where it's just it's so good, and I really liked the story, and I'm actually really keen to see where it goes because I'm weirdly invested in Pun Pun's journey, so it's like I really liked it. It's kind of weird, like it's a slice of life story with surrealism thrown in every now and then. I really enjoyed it. Would give it about a 4 out of 5 stars, so keen to continue the series. After that, I finished reading Red Seas Under Red Skies by Scott Lynch, which is the second book in the Gentleman Bastards series. I had been listening to this on and off in my car because that's the main time I listen to audiobooks, and then I just decided to read this one day and kind of powered through it, and I really loved this. I don't know if I liked it more than the first book or not, but it was still absolutely incredible, so I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. It was so fucking entertaining, like it just did not stop. There was like pirates in this book and twists and turns, and it was just so much fucking fun. I cannot wait to read the third book in this series. Like, it's a new favorite series for me, and I just love it. The final book that I read in November I actually listened to an audiobook of, and it was Edge Dancer by Brandon Sanderson. This is like a short story or a novella about one of the side characters from his Stormlight Archive series, and I decided I wanted to listen to it before I read the third book in the series, which just came out and I'm currently reading and I'm so excited about. But Edge Dancer was really fucking good. It was about a side character named Lift, and I never really liked her that much in the first 2 books in the series because we only ever caught like glimpses of her and I found her really immature. But listening to this, I started to really like her, and I don't know if it was because the audiobook gave her more of a personality than like I did when I gave her a personality in my head. I don't really know, but the audiobook was like really vivid and just gave her so much more. I enjoyed it a lot, and I enjoyed her character so much because it's like he's building her up to be more of a character in the future, so this was so much of her like maturing and becoming more of an adult character almost. Like she's still quite immature, but like she's growing up a little bit, and I really enjoyed it. Like I like her character a lot now, and I'm excited to see more of her, so I really enjoyed it. It was quite short, but it was a really good story. It was really well-rounded and just a nice little bit of the world that we hadn't seen before, so I enjoyed that a lot. Those are all the books that I read in November though. Even though it is a bit late, I would still love to hear how your reading month was, so be sure to let me know down in the comments. I upload videos Wednesdays, Saturdays, and sometimes Mondays as well, so be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in my next video. Toodaloo!